I married a cougar. What's going on, everybody? It is Bryce, your favorite AMPIA and Part 147 instructor, back with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about finding and keeping love in aviation, and really the story of how I met my wife. If you notice the thumbnail, I married a cougar, which is not actually an exaggeration. So I'm going to tell you the story of how we met, how old I was, how old she was, how old we are now, because how old I am actually gets asked a lot on my YouTube channel, especially in the comment section. Well, where else would somebody ask it, I guess. But I was working for a flight school. I was every bit of 22 years old. Actually, I was 21 years old. I just turned 21. And the flight school was growing. It was real small. It was me, the owner, the other owner, and like one other mechanic. So there wasn't many of us there. The owner was managing all the flight schools and everything. And this lady comes by, right? This lady comes by, just happened to be looking for a job. I don't know how she heard that we were there, but anyways, she comes by looking for a job because she was working at another flight school that I think went out of business. Anyways, and all I see is this redhead go walking in front of the hangar with my boss at the time, and she's wearing a green dress from her shoulders down to her ankles, and had like a blue little blue denim jacket over it. I'm painting a picture for you here. And I thought, who is she? And I didn't get a really good look at her. I just saw her hair, obviously. I thought maybe a prospective student or something like that. So Mario comes by and tells me later, he goes, that's going to be our new dispatcher. He said she just happened to come by and was going to dispatch for the flight school for a while and take care of the scheduling of the airplanes and whatnot. So she started working for us, and we worked together for probably about a year, I'll say. And I'm not saying my wife's name because I haven't asked her if she was okay with her saying her name. I'm sure she is. I just not going to. But anyways, so obviously that was my now wife, and we worked together for probably about a year. She'd have to pull the hangars, or not the hangars, she'd have to pull the airplanes out of the hangar and whatnot, take them over to the fuel pump and fill them up. And some of the airplanes were really heavy because we had like a Cherokee Arrow that was really, really heavy. So a lot of times when I saw her pulling the airplanes, I'd go help her and stuff like that. So we got to know each other. We kind of got to become friends, hung out a lot. Not really a lot, but we hung out outside of work, I should say, as friends and professionally. And then one day, we were working out together. We had gone for a hike because I lived over in an RV at the Castroville Park, and we'd gone for a hike, and I'd gone up in the trails to the cross and showed her the cross, and we came back down. And I think it was the second or third time we were doing this. We were going for a hike or something. She was like, oh, my side hurts, my side hurts, my side hurts. And it ended up being her appendix. But she went to the hospital with her appendix. And when she got out, there wasn't really anyone around to take care of her. She didn't have a boyfriend. She had been single for a couple of years at that point. So yeah, I kind of went over to her house. I brought her an ice pack, and romance ensued. And next thing you knew, we were sort of dating one another, and we kept it really quiet for about, I'm gonna say 3 to 4 months. If my old boss watches my YouTube videos, which I suspect he does, he's just now learning this. But if anyone asks, we didn't start dating until she left. It's kind of like the military, but no. So her and I were dating for probably about 3 or 4 months, and she ended up getting another job back in the oil field. She's always worked in the oil field, in trucking, doing dispatching and admin work in the oil field. But she ended up getting a new job there and moved there, and we dated for probably about 3 years, and then we got married in Vegas. Now, obviously the title of the video is I Married a Cougar, Finding and Keeping Love in Aviation. So let's address that. She, at the time, I was 22 years old, and she was 38. But we didn't get married until she was 41. And I would have been 25 at the time. So I was a little older when we got married. We've been together for 7 years now. So to answer the question that everybody asks, I am 29. My birthday is in August, and she is 45. So there are some things that go along with that, being that it's a 16-year age difference and whatnot. She is a redhead, obviously. But yeah, there are some things that go along with that. But I love her with all my heart. And here's what I've learned in my short but limited experience in aviation as a general aviation mechanic and working for the school. If you want love and a marriage to be something in your life, you have to prioritize that. I know lots of people around me that have worked for major airlines, that have worked for larger companies, and they've been married for 45, 50, 60 years. They've been married for longer than my wife has been alive. And the one consistent trend I see with people, like even my parents have been married for 46 years. And before anyone asks, that's why it's not awkward that my wife is so much older. I say so much older. My oldest brother is, I think, a year and a half younger than my wife. So my oldest brother's almost her same age. So it doesn't make it weird for me because my parents are both in their late 60s. So no big deal, right? But I think if you prioritize your relationship, if you prioritize your wife, and when you have free time, you prioritize spending that free time with your wife and with your family, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be okay. I think where people get themselves into a situation of aviation-induced divorce syndrome, or AIDS as it's sometimes called, is you end up spending so much time at work chasing money and chasing dreams, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you end up spending so much time there, you're not spending the time at home devoting it to your marriage. And that being said, my wife is very goal-oriented, as am I. We both strive for the same things, we both want the same things, and we're both trying to achieve the same things. And when you have the same mindset going into it and moving forward, it makes it a lot easier to have a successful marriage, because she understands a little bit more when I'm working 12, 16-hour days for months at a time without a day off. And yes, it's going to strain the marriage, but you have to communicate, you have to talk to one another, and you have to work through those issues. So, I mean, it's probably cookie cutter advice, but if you want to stay married and you want to keep love in aviation, you have to communicate. You have to talk to this person, and you have to dedicate your free time to this person, especially if you have kids. There's a lot of times. I have stepkids. She had 2 kids before me. Which is interesting because they're also older. They're now 21 and 17, and I'm 29. So that's an interesting dynamic. But you have to devote your time not just to your wife, but you also have to devote your time to her kids and or your kids if they are also your kids. And I think if you do those things, you're probably going to have a successful marriage, and you're going to turn out all right. But there you go. That's kind of a short story on how I met my wife, how I think you can find and keep love in aviation, and some tips and tricks from, like I said, my limited experience on the matter. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Go ahead and join the Discord. See if you can follow my Instagram. Shoot me an email if that's something you want to do. I'm trying to do a better job about getting in contact with people who have gotten in contact with me. I get a little lazy sometimes just because I get so busy. So if you sent me an email or something and I haven't responded, I'm sorry. I'm working on it. It's just things have been hectic with this semester starting back up. So with that being said, go build something and be easy.